Welcome to Power Fridays Live, the channel that aims to make a difference in the world through transformation, spiritual growth, and for entrepreneurs. Our vision is to empower individuals to live their lives with purpose and to make a positive impact on the world. We believe that power and purpose are the driving forces behind success and fulfillment in both personal and professional life. Through our broadcast, we discuss business strategies and techniques that can help entrepreneurs achieve their goals and take their business to the next level. We believe that through sharing knowledge and experience, we can empower each other to succeed and make a difference in the world. Now here's our host, Janelle Pulley.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to Power Fridays Live. And we're so excited to have with us another exciting Friday evening where we spotlight entrepreneurs who are transforming lives through purpose, power, and leadership. Tonight, we're honored to have with us Dr. Tsitsi Hungway with us. Let's dive into her incredible journey. Good evening, Dr. Tsitsi. How are you doing?
Good evening, Janelle. I'm doing great.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here with us this evening. I'm very excited. We met and you were such a treasure. And I was like, oh, we need to get some of your golden nuggets to put in our chest for the future. And Dr. Sitsy, I like to always start at the beginning and learn about you more, about where you grew up and how did your upbringing shape who you are today? Can you share a little bit about yourself?
Yes, well, I'm so glad to have met you, and that's a whole nother story. But yes, I'm really excited to be here. I am an immigrant from Zimbabwe, and I was born in Zimbabwe. And my family has moved around over the years, but the short story is I was born in Zimbabwe and immigrated to the United States Since 2003, we actually relocated as my dad found a position at one of the universities in Michigan. Michigan is my home state that I claim, and I'm now based in Minnesota. So I am an immigrant who calls home Zimbabwe, but also Michigan is my home state as well. I spent much of my teenage years in Michigan. As it relates to how did my upbringing shape me, as I reflect now, years later, I am so much in gratitude that I've had all these transitions, life transitions, speaking of transitions, and it's given me a global perspective. Being able to travel and live in different parts of the world, from the West, where we are here, and overseas as well. My upbringing shaped me in the fact that I am very open to change. I'm highly adaptable. And I also feel that I bring a different perspective to the world around me because I understand that change, as I said, happens, and sometimes we'll talk a little bit more about that. Transitions are a part of life, and so I think the biggest takeaway for me over the course of my life has been to embrace transitions, including those in life.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And you're the first person that I have from the country of Zimbabwe to interview. And that is so exciting. And I'm from another M state. I'm originally from the state of Missouri. So we have the M and M going on today. The M state ladies. Okay, very good. Well, I am excited. And of course, people are going to ask, okay, Dr. Sitsy, a doctor of what? Knowing that you are a transition coach, a speaker, and an author, acclaimed Amazon bestseller. And what brings the doctor to your name? And why did you pursue that trajectory in your life?
Mm-hmm. So I'm a dentist by trade, and I ended up being a dentist by, gradually is what I will say. I had a dentist in my teenage years when we moved to Michigan. And she was a woman and very kind, very professional. And I always had a great experience when I went to go and see her. Fast forward, I went to college. I loved the sciences, specifically chemistry. And I chose to become a biochemistry major. But I found myself still in my first year trying to figure out, what do I really actually want to do? And I remember thinking public health, that kind of resonated with me. And it's interesting in hindsight, when I look back, when I was, in Zimbabwe, we call it primary school. But I was about 10 or 11. And I remember thinking at one point, like, I want to help people, but not just help people. I remember very clearly thinking, I want to change the world. I didn't know exactly what that meant. And in hindsight, I'm like, I wonder why, it's an interesting thought, right? For a 10 or 11-year-old. And
Yes.
I spent a lot of my life, my teenage years, trying to figure out, what is it that I want to be when I grow up? And I have a different perspective on growing up now. I believe we're always becoming and evolving, and pivots as well are okay. But to go back to my decision, in college, I circle back to some of the experiences I'd had, and I did shadow within a variety of healthcare professions, and it still went back eventually to my dental experiences. So I asked my dentist, I said, hey, I'd love to come and, shadow you, but now from a different lens, as somebody that's potentially interested in the field. And I will never forget her response. She encouraged my interest. And that speaks to the idea of, hey, when we are in the position of potentially somebody comes to us, or, somebody may view us as we'll say a resource or a support system. Just those
Yes.
words of encouragement to say, hey, I believe in you. You can do this. Go a long way. Fast forward, I did an internship during my college years and decided definitively I wanted to go to dental school. And the rest is history. I am the first in my family lineage in the dental profession, and so therefore the first dentist in my family.
Oh, congratulations. That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
I love your story because oftentimes when people are young, even at the age of 10, you've lived a decade and it's like, what and you're making the decisions and making choices about
Mhm.
your life. At that age, I wanted to be an actress. I was like, the fame and fortune of life and celebrity, but to know that you wanted to make a difference and change the world somehow,
Thank
and in that, I love the profession that you chose. And
you.
I love the fact that, your dentist inspired you to become a dentist and the defining moment that you shared with us to set you on this path. But like now you're a dentist, you have a practice or you're part of a practice. And I know a little bit about your story, but I'd like for you to share with the audience. Was there a defining moment that set you on a path for entrepreneurship?
Yes. So I graduated from dental school and began my career. And I felt for much of my 20s that I was on the go, moving towards my goals. And I'm grateful for the investment that I made in myself to achieve my dreams. And I will say when the pandemic, and because the pandemic is really a pivotal point in my life, that I will always reference. The pandemic that began in 2020 was likely the first time that I took a step back, paused, and it gave me a lot of time to begin to contemplate and think about who am I? Why am I here? Those words specifically and phrases are ones that I'm now beginning to be able to articulate, because sometimes you have thoughts, but it's in hindsight, this is what I was looking for. I was searching.
Yes.
So that began in about 2020 with that pause, and I'm grateful for that pause. And I ended up returning back into the workforce. And fast forward into 2021, at the top of 2021, going into February, March, I began to feel some tension within, is what I will describe. And I thought, all is well. I'm back working. What is this feeling that I'm feeling? And I found myself gradually sinking into what I would call a dark hole.
Mm.
And I remember, I've shared this actually with some individuals. I remember sitting there and I remember thinking, for some reason, I had the insight and to look forward. And I believe it was from my source, God. And I thought 30 years from now, I said, there are many people that I'm going to serve chairside, that I'm helping. And I know that there's others as well who do the same thing within my profession. But I said, there's something else out there. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, but there was some feeling sort of lost and not in alignment with my purpose. And that's not necessarily due to where I was in my career, but I knew there was something more out there. And I began to think 30 years from now, when I'm sitting there, potentially retired, when I look back, what would my legacy be? I remember that. This was an actual thought. And I was in a space where I was searching, and it led me to Googling. My mentors know this. Angela knows this. The good Google led me to a program, the John Maxwell team program, and I filled out a form. Fast forward, it led me to end up on a phone call with somebody who I believe I was supposed to get on the phone with and have a conversation with, because that person then led me to connect with Connect and Collab, which you are familiar with, Janelle. And I attended out of curiosity. I said, I'm not an entrepreneur, but it sounds like we have an event for Juneteenth. Sure, I'll attend. And he invited me, one of the co-founders. And fast forward, it led me to network with other people. And fast forward, I ended up hearing about an entrepreneur masterclass at the time. It was called a boot camp. And I went on the website. Something led me to Google, to check out the website further. And I didn't know any of the business terminology on there. And I said, well, sounds like this is some kind of class, maybe to occupy my time. In hindsight, I was searching, right?
Yes, yes.
And I clicked on the link, and I remember texting somebody, and I said, sure, I'll do it. What do I have to lose? In hindsight, I do believe I was led, and I followed and I trusted the voice within. I ended up trusting the process, and slowly, gradually, that fall of 2021, I went from zero. There was no business to the name Higher Mountaintops, which is the name of my business, and ended up founding this business, Higher Mountaintops. So the takeaway that I want to share with the viewers today is that there's a lot of components to my story. But the takeaway was that there was something that I was searching for, and a sense of purpose and direction. And I followed the next best step that I heard, and it led me to meet a series of people in a certain order. And I believe it was meant to be. And eventually, even though I wasn't looking for it, I realized I found what I was looking for. And Higher Mountaintops not just represents a career pivot or decision, it represents me coming full circle to why I'm here, which is to give back, and in many ways give back to the early professional that I was early in my career.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful, compelling story, Dr. Sitsy. And as you were speaking, all I could think about was what you were saying, hanging on every word, and also going to my faith in scripture of Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So, what do you think about that? Is that how you could encompass how you were led and God, he directs, orders our steps and directs our to our purpose. And
I
you believe,
definitely, yes, go ahead.
yes, and I just want to for you to share your belief system in reference to that, because I don't want to impose my belief system upon you in that way. So I just wanted to share that. If what I heard was that impactful.
Yes, I definitely echo what you're saying. Janelle, I am a woman of faith. And as I look back now, and that scripture is very clear, I've read it actually over the years. And I remember hearing about it. And, you have those verses that you're like, oh, it kind of becomes, oh, that, that it has a nice ring to it. For me, that's what it became for myself. And I will say this. It is very clear to me that the series of things that have happened and where I am today, that there was somebody watching over me, but also always is watching over me, but that it was all orchestrated, is what I will
Yes.
say. There was a plan in
Yes.
place. And in many ways, the way I moved in 2021, I didn't fully understand it. It's almost sort of like an out of body experience where you're like, oh, sure, I'll sign up for this. Sure, I'll go to Connect and Collab. And I don't believe that it was by happenstance. I believe that that my source, which is God, was leading me in the right direction. And that speaks to the fact that sometimes when we're moving and transitioning into new chapters or seeking a new direction, sometimes just following that next best step that we hear is enough. And the plan itself has already been laid out, obviously, by God, and that's my belief there. And so, yes, that scripture definitely I'm familiar with, and I would concur.
Oh, thank you. So, we share the same belief system there. So I'm very happy and
Mhm.
I'm excited because God put us together and he led us to meet one another. And I'm very happy about that. And here on Power Fighters Live, we love to hear real stories of impact. And can you share a moment where you saw your work directly change someone's life or community?
Yes, I would say there's been a series of moments where I've realized, the impact of me, we'll say, walking in what I believe I'm supposed to be doing. And for me, there are moments where I am speaking on stage, and I will get off on stage and I will have a conversation with an attendee. I had one some time ago, and it was a leadership training, and had a conversation with a woman, and she mentioned to me some of the things that were going on within her work environment. And I will say this: she thanked me that I was able to provide her some tools that she could carry along. And it spoke to the fact that this is something that I learned from my mentor. She's actually also my bonus mom, Angela. That when we are doing, training or speaking, especially on a platform that, it's not about me. She told me that. I remember her really emphasizing that to me not too long ago. It's not about you. Um, Creating that space so that when you walk into that room, you are there to be of service to the people, and being able to give them what they need in that moment and add value to them. When I come from that space in those rooms, whether it's speaking or training specifically is what I'm speaking on. And then after that, it's then hearing back how it helped the individual as it did with this woman. Those are moments that I definitely are confirmation for me to continue to add value. And so that is a moment that I would say really stayed with me as of recently.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much. And, transformation, thriving in transitions, that's what we do. And knowing that you are a transition coach, and I know we're going to have an opportunity for people to share on how to reach you, but I would like to know at least one piece of advice that you would have for someone who feels stuck in their business or their personal development.
One piece of advice that I would have is I talked about this in my journal that I published last year, Mastering Career Transitions, Unveiling Six Essential Strategies. One of the things that I have learned over the years is it's important to surround yourself with consistently with a community of like-minded people who are going to not only uplift you, but challenge you to grow personally and professionally. But also it can also be a source of inspiration because as I often say, no one is self-made. You look at some of the great athletes out there. I enjoy my sports. Serena Williams, I had the opportunity to see her in action. She's not self-made from her stories she's shared often, and many others. I have my own people over the years that have helped me along, not only to get to the stage as a dental professional, but also transitioning into entrepreneurship. And so this idea that walking with others along the journey for support, I call it finding and surrounding yourself with a tribe, is so important. And that is ultimately one of the key ingredients to sustained success from what from what I believe. Next year, I will have been a licensed dentist for about a decade now. And when I look back, there were many people that came in my life, some for a season, and some are still in my life for this period of time. And even in my entrepreneurship journey, there are people that have come alongside. Some have come for a season and played a small part, and there are some who will be a part of my journey for a lifetime. All of that is, I share all of that with the viewers to reinforce that the importance of making sure that you surround yourself with the community. And I do believe, along with many other strategies, right, that is one of the key ingredients to what I focus on, which is sustainable success. We're not just no longer looking at, for me, hey, let's have a good run or a good, good success, start the business, grow, for a couple years. But I'm looking at the long-term impact and ultimately leaving a legacy. And so with that, there will be people that will come along the journey. So I encourage the viewers as well. Find a community, surround yourself with people. And if you are in need of community, specifically finding that you are stuck, ask yourself, have you, had a conversation with anybody about, what's going on first? Because sometimes it's simply, hey, this is where I'm at. This is identifying where you're at and what you may need support with. And it is not a weakness to ask for support. In fact, it can often help us and be a sign of strength. And so for anyone that may be feeling stuck, I would just encourage to take that time to reach out as well.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sitsy, for your invaluable dropping that treasure chest of that golden nugget. That is awesome. Really surrounding yourself with like-minded people and being on a journey with others who share your same goals and dreams and desires. That is great information to share. And how can our audience, as we're wrapping up here, how can someone take the next step with you? I know, thriving through transitions, that's what you're all about. Do you offer a free resource, a discovery call, or a giveaway we should know about?
Yes, so I would love to share more about Higher Mountaintops and what I do to help early professionals. And I help early professional women prepare for their next chapter. We just celebrated for many this season of graduation. And I know some grads as well recently. And so, as this time of the year is a point of transition for many students across various campuses nationwide. And so I am the early professional career transition coach for those who are starting their careers, looking to advance in their careers, but also make a transition into a completely new career. And one of the ways in which I support early professionals is, I mentioned the leadership training, keynote speaking, but also other ways in which I do so is there are people that I mentor. But then also I'd like to speak on the coaching aspect, helping people move from where they are to where they want to be. And to do that, I like to, mention as well, if you are in a position where you are feeling that you are at a crossroads, you are feeling that there is something more out there. You've been daydreaming of starting that company. You've been daydreaming of accepting that promotion, but not sure how to do it. Something is holding you back, but that nudge is telling you it is time to move on. Reach out to me on my website, www.highermountaintops.com, and we will set up a discovery call with you so I can learn more about where you are and how I can be of help for you as an early professional.
Very good. Dr. Sitsy, you've imparted a lot of wisdom with us today, and I've enjoyed you sharing about your growth, your walk, your journey, and your leadership, and what brought you and the upbringing that you had to shape who you are today. So thank you so much for sharing that, and I'm so glad that you found a community, your tribe, and it's so important to know that you are not alone in your journey with entrepreneurship. It's so important. I'm so glad that you mentioned about being self-made. All of the great people that we see, they have coaches. All of the millionaires and billionaires, they're speaking, talking to a coach. A coach is looking at them. And so being a transition coach and working with early career people, what piece of advice, what would you leave us with? The final word, what would you share?
I would love to share one lesson that I've learned over the years is it's actually something I will be speaking on more in the future to come. And it is this idea of standing in your authentic self and embracing who you are. I found myself in much of my life having transitioned, living in different parts of the world, transitioning from Zimbabwe to here. When I look back, I was searching for who I was and my identity, and oftentimes also seeking to conform, to fit the mold of who I thought I was supposed to be. And what I thought in many ways a Zimbabwean American should represent a woman, a Black woman in my field, and even what a dental professional should be, and not putting myself in a box. And the pandemic allowed me to step back and think about what is it that I want for my life. And it didn't come from a place from not being content, but that I needed to step out and really live fully in the person that I was meant to be, that a person that I believe God has created me to be. So, one piece of advice I would say is that standing in your authenticity, embrace who you are. There's a phrase you're going to hear me in the years to come talk more about, but it is this idea of ditching the clone zone and stepping out of what we believe we ought to be, and then actually ultimately becoming who we are meant to be. Being unique, being who we are, ultimately is where our superpower lies. And when we stand in rooms and when we bring our perspectives in every boardroom and every platform and every time we speak within our friendships and relationships, those are the things that are going to ultimately attract what we desire. And so I'm talking about breaking out of this idea of conforming, which was a part of my journey over the years, and really standing in and owning who I am. And it's allowed me to now have so many different facets to myself and really embrace my journey. And so my advice would be to stand in your authenticity for sure.
Very good. There you have it, everyone. Thank you so much. Stand in your authenticity. And here with Power Fridays Live, we say be, do, and have the greatness that you desire because the greatness is in you. And as Dr. Sitsy has said, if you're searching, if you're asking yourself questions, if you're reflecting, please do reach out and have a conversation with www.highermountaintops.com. Dr. Tsitsi Hungway, we do thank you so much. We appreciate you, and may you continue to have your steps, ordered, and may that spirit continue to move within you to where God will continue to put the people in your path that so desire. So thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Thank you for being part of Power Fridays Live community, and take care.